All right, so this line that Georgia is going to have to deal with on Saturday, they were listed as a 43.5 point favorite to beat Ball State this weekend. And I don't know about you, but that is a significant number for those of you who track those things. Now, I'll just tell you right now that's a lot, particularly after this past week. That's what the line opened up at. I'm recording this right now, more middle of the week. I think the line has dipped some, yeah, about a point and a half. But I do want to focus on what this 42, 43 point line means. Georgia under Kirby Smart has not covered a line over 40 point line since Kirby has taken over as the head coach. And that is, I mean, that's a big line. That is a big line to have to be responsible for. So I'm going to go through the games real quick. Obviously, this past week, they did not cover the line against Tennessee Martin. It was a very late breaking line. But in 2016 against Nichols, they did not cover that line. Samford last year, that game was cut short. They didn't cover that line. 2021 against Charleston Southern, blew them out, didn't cover. I just talked about Tennessee Martin. Murray State in 2019, Stetson threw a pick six, did not cover. Austin Peay in 2018 did not cover. Kent State, 45-point favorite. Georgia was 45-point favorite, did not cover. Massachusetts in 2018 did not cover. And then there's one more. Missouri in 2021, Georgia was a 40-point favorite, did not cover that line. And there were a couple of other times in the recent past where Georgia's been at least a 40-point favorite. They have covered a couple of those. One against Troy in 2014 with Mark Richt's team. Charleston Southern, same thing, in 2014. So there, and then Southern, when Devin Gales was hurt, that was also a line that was really large. But these games are often, by the way, noon games as well. In these lopsided lines in 13 against Appalachian State, Missouri in 21, Troy in 14. 14 against Charleston Southern. Kent State was a noon game. Southern was a noon game. Charleston Southern in 21 was a noon game. Nichols State, a game they narrowly won, was also a noon game. So let's see if Georgia's lethargic coming out of the gate. They were lethargic offensively. They did not execute. They were not crisp. Lethargic might be a little bit strong word, but these giant lines are hard to they're hard to cover. They just are. And one reason why is if the other team scores at all, you're talking about a really complicated situation in terms of covering the line. So there's some, Georgia over Ball State, 42-point line. I'm trying to see if there are any other just really large lines this week. Kentucky and Eastern Kentucky's 31. About the other closest one is Michigan is a 36-point favorite over UNLV. Michigan played okay last week. They didn't play unbelievable. Arkansas is a 37-point favorite over Kent State. UW is 35 over Tulsa. So there are some pretty heavy lines this week if you want to get in on that action. I always tell people when they ask me if they're going to bet on Georgia, I say, are you a fan? Because you shouldn't bet if you're a fan of that particular team. You should, watch yourself on that front. The other kind of strange game here is Western Kentucky is nearly a 40-point favorite over Houston Christian. I've never heard of Houston Christian. I'm certain there are a lot of Christians in Houston, but I don't know that I've ever heard of that school. So this kind of, Georgia is a bigger favorite over Ball State than Florida State is over Southern Miss. And I think most people would agree that Florida State has the best win in college football this season. Not that that necessarily translates to things. Auburn's line has moved. It was at 3. They are now an almost touchdown favorite at Cal in a clash of the cultures there between those two. And then Stanford and SC are going to play. SC is a 30-point favorite over Stanford. So Cal and Auburn, Stanford and SC, those games will both kick off at 10:30. Some of us are happy. We're going to be in our Eco Polys rocking away. They've been great for us. 20-year warranty, Georgia made product, Georgia manufacturing. It's just been great working with them, really, because they have great products. They have awesome different types of seating. This is a rocker. They've got Adirondack chairs. They've got tables for, if you're just like hanging out watching the game, if you have an outdoor setup, you really need to check EcoPoly out. The link is right down below. You're going to get 15% off when you enter the code, and you're going to get free shipping. You can get an even better deal by going to their, what I'm going to call warehouse, where they produce things, their facility in Dodge County, which is, for those of you who are in Atlanta, it's not that far to go get an even better deal, particularly if you're kind of redoing your beach, your lake, or your backyard. Y'all, this is going to be around for 20 years, and that's a really great product to have. I just know a lot of people, they cook out, like they have a giant outdoor space. They have a TV, or if they're like me, they have a couple TVs or 3. And it's a great way to watch games. And this is very comfortable, durable equipment. It will last outdoors. I know it will because I'm sitting in it, using it right now. These weekends, I'm excited for the weekend. We've already talked about Kendall Milton today and what he can do, or what that could be like for him if he continues to play better at running back for Georgia. But this is a huge line. Everybody's going to want to see Georgia kind of get out offensively and play well. I do want to say this, though. Sometimes the immediate feeling at a game is the prevailing feeling from a game. And I'm not sure, if you go back and watch Georgia play, that's the best way to look at sort of where they are at or how they performed. They're the number 12 offense in the country right now. So that's a good start. There were some issues, but they're the number 12 offense total, number 9 passing offense, which is what the people were most concerned about, number 35 defense. You really worried about Georgia's defense right now? So they've got the best red zone in the country. There are some things to work on. I think that Kirby was talking about run defense. That's a little bit, to me, of a misnomer this past week because of the way that that Ball State was choosing to attack Georgia. The way that Tennessee Martin was able to attack Georgia. But they're 15th in the country in scoring defense. That could have been 0. I do want to see this team. Can they throw a shutout against Ball State? Ball State, for those of you who do not know, Ball State really was fighting Kentucky this past week. I think they had a lead relatively deep into that game in a way that Kentucky was probably not super pumped up about. Yeah, after the first quarter, I was about to say Georgia. Ball State was up 7-3 going into the second quarter. Kentucky took it from there, but it was not the greatest performance I've ever seen from Kentucky, but they, one way they scored to kind of push the lead out 17-7 was by getting a fumble and scoring a 16-yard touchdown off that. So, in other words, Ball State had gotten the lead and surrendered it to Kentucky, and then they were coming back down the field to go up 14-10, and then all of a sudden, boom, 17-7, and then they did not recover from a 20-7 halftime deficit. 23-7 halftime deficit. Some mistakes there from Ball State, but they played Kentucky relatively hard. They just couldn't throw it against Kentucky, so that's probably not going to get a lot better against the Dogs, considering everything. So 223 yards receiving for Ball State. They had a hard time running the ball, as we talked about before, about 2 yards a carry, a little bit fewer than that. But Kentucky couldn't run on them either. So, 40-something seems like a lot, but here's the thing about the Dogs. They're going to explode on you at some point, and it can be the defense that explodes on you too. And that's the part that that's the part that I think you don't want any part of if you can help it, is the explosion. Georgia's defense can totally change games quickly. It's a real challenge to deal with that. But like, Georgia right now, if I told you that that the offense was as effective as USC's or slightly less effective, would you believe me? That's where it is. Now SC has, if you extrapolate what happened with Georgia to the USC situation, SC scored more touchdowns, okay, but the yardage is the same, and Georgia's had more plays. So let's just see how this develops. I mean, Colorado is a team to watch in terms, they're just in front of Georgia in terms of production. I thought Colorado looked really good the other day. But, when you're scoring 80 points like Oregon did, UCF had a big week with Gus. Syracuse, all of a sudden, Cal is scoring a pile of points. The Rebels, Ole Miss, the Rebels, and then Oklahoma had 70 points or whatever it was. I mean, Georgia's got to keep it going. I'm looking for Alabama. I thought they had a better day than they did, but it may have been sort of old school Alabama where they were sort of trugging along and not scoring a pile of points and embarrassing everybody offensively. Yeah, they're just outside the top 50 at 52. So Georgia with more yardage than the Elephants, but not, well, it was noticeably more actually. But let's just see what happens. It's a big line. Are you brave enough to put your money out there like that? Be safer buying the Eco Poly.